Hey class, today we are going to talk about when to use a comma while writing in English. There are many different times when you need to use a comma while you are writing. And today we are going to talk about two different types of sentences where students often make mistakes with commas while writing in English. So, let's get started. We use commas when we write different types of sentences. So before we talk about the comma, let's talk about the different parts of bigger sentences in English. So let's take a look at these two clauses. Clauses? You will understand as I explain more. The first clause says, I went to the grocery store this morning. This is called an independent clause. Why? Because it is complete. I have a subject, I have a verb, and I have a complete thought. I can put a period at the end of this clause, and I have a good sentence in English. I went to the grocery store this morning. Why do we call this an independent clause? Because it is independent. It does not need any help. It is a good sentence. Let's look at the second one. Before I went to the grocery store this morning. What? I cannot finish the sentence there. I need more. What happened? This is an example of a dependent clause in English. I have a subject, I have a verb, but I do not have a complete thought. This is incomplete. It needs more information to be a good sentence. I cannot put a period at the end of this clause to make a sentence. So, what is the difference between the independent and the dependent clause in these examples? One word, before. Before in English is an example of a subordinating conjunction. That is a fancy way to say there are words in English that make dependent clauses. Here are some examples: before, after, if, when, because, although, and even though. Those last two mean the same thing. Are these all of the subordinating conjunctions in English? No, but these are some popular ones. So, let's look at a couple more examples of dependent clauses. If we go to the grocery store tomorrow. When we go to the grocery store later. Because I went to the grocery store yesterday. All of these clauses are incomplete. I need more information. I cannot finish the sentence after these clauses. I need something else to make a complete sentence. I need an independent clause. Watch what happens when I take these dependent clauses and I add an independent clause. Before I went to the grocery store this morning, I met some friends at a coffee shop. Now I have a good sentence. I have a dependent clause, but I also have an independent clause. I put both of these together, and now I have a good sentence. This is called a complex sentence in English. Because I went to the grocery store yesterday, I don't need to go today. Here we have another good complex sentence. I start with my dependent clause, and I finish with an independent clause. I don't need to go today. Okay, teacher, what about the commas? You said this was a video about commas. Yes, look at these two complex sentences. I started with a dependent clause. I finished with an independent clause. If I want to write these sentences in English, I need to put a comma after the dependent clause. Now I have a good sentence in English. Teacher, can I change the order of these sentences? Can I say, I met some friends at a coffee shop before I went to the grocery store this morning? Yes, that is another good complex sentence in English. There is only one thing that is different. If I start my sentence with an independent clause, I met some friends at a coffee shop, and I finish with a dependent clause, before I went to the grocery store this morning, no comma. Again, these two sentences are the same. In the first sentence, I have a comma. In the second sentence, no comma. Why? Because I put a comma if the dependent clause is first. Okay, let's look at some more examples. I will buy bananas if I go to the grocery store tomorrow. If I go to the grocery store tomorrow, I will buy bananas. When I went to the grocery store yesterday, they didn't have bananas. They didn't have bananas when I went to the grocery store yesterday. Because they didn't have bananas, I bought a pineapple. I bought a pineapple because they didn't have bananas. Okay, teacher, is it possible to have two independent clauses in the same sentence? Yes. Can I connect these with a comma? Yes, but you also need another word to connect two independent clauses. Let's look at an example. I went to the grocery store this morning. I stopped for gas on the way home. These are two independent clauses in English. I can put a period at the end of each of these clauses, and they are good sentences in English. If I want to connect these sentences, I need a comma and I need a word. Let's use the word and. I went to the grocery store this morning, and I stopped for gas on the way home. This is called a compound sentence in English. And I used a comma and the word and to connect these two independent clauses. Now, we have more words besides and that we can use to connect two independent clauses. For, and, nor, but, or, yet, so. Sometimes we call these fanboys. Why? Because it is an easy way to remember for, and, nor, but, or, yet, so. All of these words are called coordinating conjunctions. And that is a fancy way to say these words connect two independent clauses. So, in our example, we use the word and to connect these two independent clauses. Let's do another example with the word but. I went to the grocery store this morning, but I forgot to buy bananas. Again, I have two independent clauses here. I have two good sentences. I went to the grocery store this morning. I forgot to buy bananas. And I connected them using a comma and using a fanboy's word. This time I used but. I went to the grocery store this morning, but I forgot to buy bananas. Okay, teacher, do I need to use a comma every time I have a compound sentence? Yes. Every compound sentence will have a comma and it will have one of these fanboys words to connect. Let's look at some more examples. We could go to the grocery store this morning, or you could go by yourself in the afternoon. They didn't have bananas, so I bought a pineapple. As you can see, there are more coordinating conjunctions that you can use to make a compound sentence. I gave examples using and, but, or, and so, because these are the most popular ones in English. Okay, quick review. If I want to write a complex sentence, I need a dependent clause and an independent clause. The dependent clause will have a subordinating conjunction word like before, after, when, if, because, or although. When I got home from the grocery store, I took a nap. Because the dependent clause is first in this example, I need a comma. Remember, I can change the order of this sentence. I took a nap when I got home from the grocery store. In this sentence, no comma. A compound sentence connects two independent clauses with a comma and one of these words. For example, she bought pineapples at the grocery store, but I asked for bananas. She didn't buy bananas, so I have to go to the grocery store tonight. Okay, that's all for today's video. I hope this video helped you understand some of the situations where you need to use a comma when you are writing in English. Thank you so much for watching. My name is Sam. I'll see you soon.